Boys, girls, babes, heavy sigh. Yes, it is that time of year once again, Caps fans, where we are here to do the post-mortem for our beloved Washington Capitals and their 2024-2025 season. But there were about 25 teams around the NHL who were doing their postmortems before us Caps fans are having to do ours. And so we can take some solace in that. The fact that the Washington Capitals, making it to the final 8 in the NHL this season, in a season where they were allegedly supposed to be mired in a bit of a rebuild, right? And instead, they finish as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. They win their division, 111 points in the standings, number 2 team in the entire National Hockey League behind only the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets, who were also out, by the way, in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then they win a round of playoff hockey pretty handily for the first time since winning the Stanley Cup in 2018. So yeah, overall, I think you can pretty safely say that this was, in fact, a pretty successful, pretty positive season for the Washington Capitals, right? Certainly based, like I said, on where they are supposed to be currently in their rebuilding process. The rebuild is going a lot faster than many people anticipated it ever could. And so that is definitely a positive, and there is a lot of optimism surrounding this Washington Capitals team moving forward into next season and obviously beyond as well. So yes, it is a sad time here, just as it is every time when your favorite team is knocked out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I think ultimately, if we provide context here for what this season was supposed to be for the Washington Capitals versus what it actually ended up being, they are, like I said, way ahead of schedule in that rebuilding process, and it was overall very positive outcomes and a very positive season for the Caps this season. But yeah, for now, babes, I just wanted to welcome you all back to the Jenaya Talks Caps podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us here today, as always, and a special thank you to those of you who joined us here all season long. There are many of you. I appreciate all of you folks so much. And yeah, I was going to do separate individual reaction videos for those last 3 games of the series against the Carolina Hurricanes, but I thought, you know what, like they were going to be late anyway, the videos were, because I had something unforeseen going on in my life, and so each of the 3 games were obviously a loss for the Caps as well. And as a result, the Capitals season is done now anyway, right? So we may as well just wrap it all at once here with the podcast today. And yeah, like as far as those post-game reaction videos are concerned, or CPR as they have come to be affectionately known, CPR for Capitals post-game reaction, for those of you who don't know. I did have a lot of things in my personal life this year that prevented me from getting to do the full 82 game season, but I got pretty close, right? 69 of 82 in the regular season, and then 7 of 10 in the playoffs. So 76 videos total, plus the podcast. So I think that's a big step for me personally, and I am very proud of what we have done this season. And we have grown our subscriber base a lot, and we have grown our followers on Facebook a lot too. And so I am just very thankful, very, very blessed for the support from all of you guys and for the season that we have had here together. It has been a lot of fun. And yeah, next season is a new season, right? So in terms of, like I said, those post-game reaction videos too, I do hope to be able to get to do the full 82 next season. And of course, we are still going to have the podcast here for you guys too. And so I hope that you guys will stick around, right? As I love having you here. And yeah, we are again going to have lots of Capitals content coming up for you next season, and we are going to have some coming up here over the course of the off season for the Capitals as well. So just because the Capitals are out of the playoffs, just because their 2024-2025 season is done, does not mean that we are done here at Jenaya Talks Caps. So I do hope, like I said, you will stay tuned, stay subscribed, stay following, because as I said, I love to have you all here. And again, as I said, we will have lots of content coming up for you right throughout the off season and of course into next season as well. And yeah, I mean, in terms of this second round series against the Carolina Hurricanes, like I just wanted to get that little bit of housekeeping out of the way there, just to let you all know that we will still be around here. So I do hope that you stay tuned and stay subscribed, stay following, like I said. But in terms of this second round series against the Carolina Hurricanes, that is what we're really here to talk about today. And it was kind of a series in which like absolutely nothing went right for the Washington Capitals. You lose the series 4-1. So let's start there, right? Like that is obviously not ideal right off the hop. Let's just get that out of the way. But then as well, when you really break down how this series was actually played out and you look at how each individual game in this series played out, that can be a really, really, really frustrating thing to do as a Capitals fan, because honestly, it really probably should have been a lot closer than the 4-1 final count would indicate. I think game one on home ice, like the Caps got absolutely caved in that game. So there's really no excuse for that one. Logan Thompson almost single-handedly stole them a win in that one. They end up, of course, losing in overtime. But I think we can all admit, like as non-delusional fans, right, that they really wouldn't have deserved to win that first game of this series. Logan Thompson was pretty much the only Capitals player who deserved a win in that one. The rest of the team, like I said, they got caved in. And while they did play great defense for the most part, that is for certain, largely keeping the Carolina Hurricanes to the outside, keeping them on the perimeter. But the Caps just never got their offense going in that game. They never even got close to getting their offense going in that game. They spent the entire game playing defense, like I said, in their own end. They didn't shoot the puck. And in fact, they never even really got anywhere close enough to the Hurricanes' net that they even would be able to shoot the puck, even if they wanted to. They tied a franchise record for fewest shots on net in a home playoff game with 14 for the entire game. A game that went to overtime. So that is not ideal. It was just an ugly, ugly first game of the series played by the Caps, and the Hurricanes deserved to win that one for sure. So then we move on, right? And in game number 2, the Caps, they come right back. They punch right back, right? With a huge 3-1 win to even the series at 1 game apiece. Connor McMichael, John Carlson, and Tom Wilson with the goals for the Caps in that one. And at the time, this really felt like a huge victory, like I said, evening up the series before it shifted to Carolina for games number 3 and number 4. But unfortunately for the Caps, games number 3 and number 4 in Carolina played out in eerily similar fashion to one another. And for that matter, we may as well include game number 5 in this conversation as well, frankly. Like we may as well just kind of lump all of these last 3 games in together because game 5 in Washington as well played out in almost the same exact way. Even if it took up until the final 2 minutes of regulation for things to go wrong in that one, those last 3 games, they all looked very similar to each other. In that, it was the Washington Capitals who came out in each of these games, these last 3 games of the series. It was the Washington Capitals who came out in each of these games having the great start, applying all of the pressure, generating all of the scoring chances, but they just could not get that first goal of the game in any of these games to go ahead on the scoreboard, to get the Carolina Hurricanes out of their structure that they like to play in. So the Hurricanes, they end up scoring first in each of these last 3 games of this series. They were never behind on the scoreboard. And the Caps, they never got rewarded for any of their great starts because they just simply could not get that puck to go into that damn net behind goaltender Frederik Andersen. And so, it is frustrating for sure as a Washington Capitals fan. I guarantee you it's going to be even more frustrating when we watch Frederik Andersen inevitably crumble in the next round, as he always does. I said it, I believe, in the series preview for the Caps versus the Hurricanes, that Frederik Andersen, he always chokes it at some point during the playoffs. So we were just hoping that it was going to be in that round number 2 against the Caps. It didn't happen. It will happen, though, and it will probably be to the benefit of the Florida Panthers. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, it is frustrating for sure, like I said, as a Caps fan, because I don't think that they played poorly at all in this series outside of that first game of the series where they just didn't generate anything, right? Didn't dictate the game at all. Didn't even try to dictate in that series opening game. They were just kind of feeling out the Hurricanes in that one, letting them come to them, and that didn't look good, in the shots on goal column for sure, and it didn't work out for them ultimately, like I said, losing in overtime. But for the rest of the series, I actually thought that the Caps, they managed to be the aggressor a lot of the time, and the stats back me up on that, which I'll get to in just a moment here. But they just could not score. Like, they ran into, obviously, like I said, a red-hot goaltender in Frederik Andersen. Like I said, he's leading the Stanley Cup playoffs in save percentage and in goals saved above expected by a wide margin at the time that I'm recording this, okay? Full disclosure, this is being recorded before that third-round series between the Panthers and the Hurricanes begins. But yeah, as of right now, finishing up that second-round series against our Washington Capitals, he leads the Stanley Cup playoffs in save percentage and in goals saved above expected, and by a wide margin, like I said. So that did not help the Caps, certainly, and they really didn't help themselves either, because they missed on a lot of their chances as well. Like, they missed the net, they rang a lot of iron, hit a lot of posts, hit a lot of crossbars, and there was probably no better summarization of this than a sequence that occurred during Game 5, which ended up being the game that would knock the Caps out of the Stanley Cup playoffs, consequently. During Game number 5, it's tied 1-1, right? Jacob Chychrun, he rings one off of the crossbar behind Andersen. He had Frederik Andersen beat, rings the crossbar, like I said, and it stays out. And so it remains 1-1. And then the Caps, and specifically Matt Roy, they actually get one past Frederik Andersen and into the actual net. And so it appears that they have taken a 2-1 lead in this game. But nope, right? The Hurricanes, they issue a coach's challenge for offside, and it was offside, barely. But the offside occurred, I believe it was 19 full seconds before the goal was actually scored. And the Hurricanes had multiple failed clearing attempts after that. So, that's not really in the spirit of what that rule is actually supposed to be, but whatever, that's besides the point. The rule is what it is for now. I'm just saying it should be changed. But yeah, the point is that the Capitals appear to have finally taken a hard-earned lead in one of these games, and then it gets called back after a coach's challenge. And if that isn't just a perfect microcosm of what this series was for the Washington Capitals, then I don't know what is. Nothing, like I said, went their way in the series. The Hurricanes would end up getting a fluky goal with 1 minute and 59 seconds remaining in regulation in Game 5 to break that 1-1 tie and to win the series. And yes, that's right. It was still tied 1-1 as we drifted below 2 minutes remaining in regulation, which means that Matt Roy goal that was overturned by coach's challenge very well could have stood up as the game winner, very well could have kept the Washington Capitals season alive. So that just twists the knife a little bit more, right? But yeah, I mean, it honestly just seemed like this one just wasn't meant to be for the Capitals, honestly. Like this one being this series as a whole, right? I mean, you really can't have less puck luck than the Caps had in this series, really. I mean, seriously, there's actually a stat that measures that. It's called PDO. And when you're talking about PDO, 100 is average, right? So 100 is the average, and the Caps were pretty close to average all regular season long, as they had a PDO of 101 this regular season. But then that absolutely falls off of a fucking cliff for them in this playoff series against the Hurricanes. They had a PDO of 91 in this series against the Canes. It is going to be damn near impossible to win a 7-game series against anyone with puck luck like that. And certainly, the Caps didn't help matters by shooting themselves in the foot at times throughout the series with some poorly timed defensive miscues. I'm mostly looking at you, John Carlson. Not sure what the hell was up with him during these playoffs, but wow. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the Carolina Hurricanes strategy of just throw everything at the net from bad angles and from far out and from everywhere, it was able ultimately to get them through this series. It was enough, it was enough to get them through this series because of a lack of puck luck and ultimately execution as well on the Caps' part at the other end of the ice. Combined, like I said, with some poorly timed gaffes by a few of the Caps players, which gave the Hurricanes some big goals in this series. And combined with as well, let's be honest, like he would tell you this himself, combined with the fact that goaltender Logan Thompson could have been a lot better in this series against the Hurricanes. He wasn't super bad by any means, certainly not. Like I said, he was the only reason that they even got to overtime in game number 1. He was phenomenal in game number 2 and got them the win there. But in games number 3 through number 5, like he definitely wasn't at his best that we have seen him at and that we have come to expect, right? And like I said, like that's not me putting this series on him by any means. So don't get the wrong idea here, because yeah, it's not like he was awful or anything like that. It's just that, when the Hurricanes were getting the type of goaltending from Frederik Andersen at the other end that they were in this series, like I said, Andersen's leading the Stanley Cup playoffs in save percentage and in goals saved above expected. Like he's literally been a complete freak through 2 rounds. And like I said, I expect that to end at some point here, probably in this next round. But yeah, like when your opponent is getting goaltending like that at the other end, the Caps definitely needed to see the Logan Thompson that they had pretty much all regular season long, and the Logan Thompson that they had in round number 1 against the Montreal Canadiens, right? That was the only way that they were going to have a chance at winning this series with Freddie Andersen playing the way that he was. And so it's like I said, it's not really a knock on Logan so much as it's just a reality of how well the goaltender at the other end of the ice was playing. And that if LT didn't match that, pretty much save for save, then the Caps were going down, right? But yeah, I mean, I thought that LT had a largely phenomenal playoffs as a whole, for what it's worth. And obviously a phenomenal regular season as well, his first as a member of the Washington Capitals. And I am very, very happy that we got him locked up already on that long-term contract before the playoffs started. Because with the way that this guy played for the majority of these playoffs, that price would have been going up for sure. So super, super happy that they got that contract done before the playoffs rolled around, because that would have gotten expensive in a hurry. But yeah, I mean, I love Logan Thompson, and so thrilled that he's going to be a Cap for a very long time here. I really think that he's a goaltender that we can legitimately go all the way with and win the whole thing. I think he showed that to everyone during these playoffs. Certainly throughout the regular season, like I said, he was one of the very best goaltenders throughout the regular season this season, around the entire National Hockey League. And then again, he was one of the very best goaltenders in the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. So you would love for that not to be the timing, that it was, like I said, the last 3 games of the series that he just wasn't at his best. But every guy is going to have a dip every now and again, right? You would hope that the team would be able to pick him up in those moments, be able to score a few more goals. But like I said, with Freddie Andersen at that point, just playing like a complete freak at the other end, it just wasn't going to happen, it seemed. But anyways, yeah, just a few stats to wrap things up with here, because I promised you guys that I would have stats to back up my assertion that the series was a lot closer than most casual observers thought. So let's start with this. So it's a 1-1 series after 2 games, right? Each team has a win. Then the Hurricanes win the next 3 straight games to win the series 4-1. But during those last 3 games of the series, all 3 of them, like I said, wins for the Hurricanes. Let me just throw some numbers at you here. So the scoring chances. This is going to hurt, guys. I'm just going to get some water before I even start this. That needs to be a beer before I read these out, because this is going to hurt. The scoring chances over those last 3 games of the series, like I said, all 3 of those games being wins for the Carolina Hurricanes, the scoring chances were officially dead even at 71-71. The high danger scoring chances were 34-28 in favor of the Caps, okay? The high danger scoring chances. And the expected goals were almost exactly dead even too, at 6.89 to 6.81 in favor of the Hurricanes. So pretty much no difference there. But the actual goals were 8-2 in favor of the Hurricanes over those 3 games. Again, all 3 of those games being losses for the Caps. So it's painful, man. Like, scoring chances being dead even like that, like I said, 71-71, the Caps actually having the majority of the high danger scoring chances, and you end up losing all 3 games. And like I said, the actual goals being 8-2 at 5-on-5. Like that really, really, really hurts. It's almost inexplicable, right? Like everything, like I said, that could go wrong for the Caps in this series went wrong. Like I said, they rang a lot of iron. They hit a lot of posts, a lot of crossbars. Goaltenders playing like a complete freak at the other end, Freddie Anderson. Logan Thompson's not really playing up to the standard that he has set for himself in his first season as a Washington Capital. Over the course of these last 3 games, he was not as good as he had been all season long and all playoffs long up to that point. And yeah, man, like all of these things just kind of combine, like I said. Even when they do finally get a goal, it gets called back, right? For offside, and an offside that happened like 19 seconds prior that didn't affect the goal at all. So, just pretty much everything that could go wrong for the Caps in this series went wrong for them. The series was truly right there for the Caps. Their pucks, like I said, just didn't go in, and the Hurricanes' pucks did. Partly, like I said, due to goaltending and partly due to shooting luck. And even when you look at just the 2 games that were played in Carolina, I wanted to make mention of this as well. Those 2 games that were played in Carolina, supposedly such a tough place to play, right? Games number 3 and number 4 of the series, expected goals were nearly 55% in favor of the Capitals. They had 61.11% of the high danger scoring chances, the Washington Capitals did, in Carolina, in these 2 games in Carolina. But again, the actual goals in those games in Carolina were 6-1 in favor of the Hurricanes. The Caps rocking that 91 PDO on the road and at home in this series. But yeah, certainly during these 2 games in Carolina and these last 3 straight losses overall in this series. Just brutal. 91 PDO. And I should mention, by the way, that all of these numbers are 5-on-5 numbers. So these don't include things like power plays. It's just a measure of each team's play at even strength, right? At 5-on-5. So just wanted to make mention of that as well, that it doesn't include things like power plays. It's just 5-on-5 play. But it is a pretty good indicator of how close the Caps actually are to the Hurricanes and of how hard they actually played, the effort that they put in to try and win the series, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which if you were ever questioning that to begin with, by the way, then I have some questions for you, frankly, because they were trying. They were definitely putting the effort in. Things were just not going their way. But yeah, I mean, they played hard. They played well, other than, like I said, a few miscues by a few players. They have just got to finish on their chances next time, and it'll probably be a different outcome for them and for all of us, right? But yeah, for now, babes, that is going to be it for this one. I think I will wrap that up right here. As like I said, I do kind of want to leave some things to talk about like throughout the off season, have some episodes coming up for you guys throughout the off season to kind of give Caps fans some content to watch, to listen to over the summer months, which can, be a little dull sometimes from a hockey perspective. So I want to save some things to talk about throughout the summer months. So yeah, for now, babes, that will be it for this one. Such a pleasure, as always, to be here doing these episodes, chatting Capitals hockey with all of you. And as I mentioned previously, we will still be having content coming out for you throughout the off season. Should mention, maybe not as regularly as you would expect it, like throughout the actual season. But we will still find things to talk about, like I said, regarding the Washington Capitals and regarding the rest of the NHL throughout the summer months as well. There are always things happening, from obviously the draft comes up first. There's usually some trades taking place around that draft. That being the NHL entry draft, and then obviously we'll have free agency, and there's always things going on throughout the summer, right? So as I mentioned previously, like I said, we will still be having content coming out for you throughout the off season as much as possible. And so we would love it. This is what I was getting to. We would love it if you would stay tuned for that. Click on that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. If you do enjoy the show here, we would love to have you along here with us. And as always, I know I already said this at the beginning of the episode, but I like to say it more than once because it's probably the most important thing to say, is that I would just like to thank everyone so much who has taken the time to listen, not only here today, but throughout the entire season. Whether it be the podcast here or those post-game reaction videos, you guys have given me so much support throughout this entire season, and I really just appreciate all of you lovely people so much. It has been a hell of a journey here this season. Like I said, for me personally, watching my channel and my podcast and everything grow so significantly, but then also watching our Capitals team grow so significantly on the ice as well. That has been a ton of fun. It's been a very fun ride all around, watching the Caps and then getting to share that with all of you guys as well. So it has been, like I said, so much fun. Couldn't ask for anything more. And yeah, it wouldn't have been nearly as much fun, like I said, without all of you guys. And so I just wanted to thank you all again. Really, 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 from the very bottom of my Capitals colored heart, right? I just really appreciate all of you guys so much, and can't thank you enough, like I said, for not only, I just want to say one more thing here, not only for like tons of people watch and listen to these episodes, like I said, whether it's the podcast or the post-game reaction videos, but so many people as well take time to share them around, like with their fellow Caps fans. I know a lot of you do that. So many people take time to, click the like button, comment on the videos, sharing your thoughts. It's become kind of a really nice community of Capitals fans here on the YouTube channel here. By the way, if you're listening to this in the audio only version, you should be made aware that it is available as a video version now as well. If you do prefer that, that can be found on the YouTube channel under the same name, Jenaya Talks Caps. But yeah, just so many comments from people just sharing their thoughts on the team, on the players, on everything. And it's really become a really nice community here for Capitals fans, just kind of exchanging ideas, right? Sharing thoughts, like I said, on the team and on the games that they're playing and on everything. And I always love reading those. You guys have some really, really great insights. I try to shout some people out sometimes with comments that they make. Sometimes I forget, but I try. And yeah, I always try to get back to people as much as I can as well, even though that sometimes I'm responding to your guys' comments like weeks after the fact, because unfortunately I have a pretty busy regular life outside of hockey. But yeah, I do always try to respond to as many of them as I can, because I just want you guys to know that I appreciate those comments so much. I love reading your thoughts. And yeah, you guys just have some really, really great insights, some really funny comments coming through sometimes as well. Caps fans, I always find, have a great sense sense of humor and a lot of knowledge about the game, right? So I love reading those. I love everyone sharing their thoughts. And yeah, it's a really fun space. Like I said, click on that subscribe button if you want to be a part of it. If you're just watching and you don't want to click subscribe, that's fine too. We appreciate everyone here. But yeah, it has been just a ton of fun, babes. And this, the Capitals season coming to an end here, unfortunately, in the second round against the Carolina Hurricanes. I just wanted to I know I've been talking for quite some time here now, so I'm going to wrap it up, but I just wanted to kind of go out of my way to just let you guys know that I appreciate you guys so much, and it's been a super fun season, and I look forward to doing it throughout the off season and into next season as well. So I hope that you guys will be here with me for all of that, for that. They've taken us on an amazing ride this season, and I really do feel that it's only going to get even better from here. We're on the way up. We have so many young, exciting players, many more coming as well on the prospect side. So it's a really, really exciting time to be a Capitals fan. We'll talk about all of that throughout the offseason, what next season could potentially look like. But yeah, I really do feel that it's a really exciting time to be a Capitals fan. And so if you want to join us on that ride, like I said, just click on that subscribe button down below. We would love to have you here with us. Until next time, babes. And as always, I love you guys. Let's go, Caps.